was DJ. Was that V on V or what? What?
Yeah, that was the time when I was on Radio Veritas. A lot of energy, radio jockeying at the time. Nimbird, very nice song, Color Boy. I still love it. That's why sometimes I call for Nimbird. And those were the times when you talk about real entertainment. Yeah, we rock the floor, we stomp our feet. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Everyone would say during their time was the time of real entertainment.
Yes, because every time has its own move. I mean, today the way I see some of you guys dance is like so acrobatic, and somebody's like trying to punch the other guy's head, and the other guy. No, we didn't do that. We did things like the bomb.
You were whopping at that time. No whap.
Yeah, I know why, but not as it is now. It was, you used to wear the bed balloon trousers. They call it sweep my yard.
Sweep my yard.
Yes, those were the times. And I'm sure some of my age group and others out there are laughing now because we used to have the dancing, and you turn around and you hit your partner, with your bobs, and they used to call it a bumping dance style. Yeah. And today you do that, man, it's indecent touch. Why are you bumping the person like that?
And that's the time you people were using the afro.
Yeah, afro. And then you remember the umbrella, the steel in the umbrella that makes it to spread out. You break that steel, you cut the onion into pieces, and you stock them into a piece of stick. That becomes your afro comb. And then you just put in your hair, and you make all your hair to go wild. Hey, you're an Afro boy, man. Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk on other issues. During the course of the week, there were a lot of things that took place during the week that worth discussion here this morning on the program. Late yesterday evening, in keeping with Executive Order 126, which was issued by the President of the Republic of Liberia, the Assets Recovery and Property Retrieval Core Team members were named last night, and that was released with a huge number of 15 persons who serve on that. 12 persons were named, and the rest of the three should be representative of the General Services Agency, the GSA, the Liberian National Police, and as well as the Ministry of Justice in terms of implementing the role and the responsibilities of this team. So I can just rumble through, then you can come in as well on this. So members of this team will definitely, they are expected to lead the charge to ensure the process leading to the location, recovery, and the retrieval of public resources and properties. The personalities named on this team, they are consisting of the former LACC chairperson, Councillor Clark Edwin Martin is the chairman. We have Mrs. Meman Rabosin is the vice chair on this team. There is Mr. Alexander Crawford, who is a member of the team, but specifically he's playing the role on the team as the special advisor. 4 is Mr. Martin Colley, member, but also on good governance. This is, I think, is the activist Martin Colley, because when this was released, there were a lot of people who were using the social media to extend congratulations to this student activist. You've been following Martin Colley of the University of Liberia, later went exile. And 5th on this list, we have Mr. Ahmed Dempster, who is a member. 6th, Honorable Emmanuel Gongwe of the Economic Freedom Fighter. He's also an advocate. A member too on this team, Dr. Rennie B. Jackson, member, public policy expert. Mrs. Angel Andrews, member, youth representative. Mrs. Victoria Mohammed, sorry, that's Victoria Mosiman, member on the team. But that from the business community, we have Mr. George Moore, member security. Mr. John Mobai Willie, member security. Mr. Trukon Martin Allen, member from the angle of the private sector. So with that, the rest of the three slots were opened up for representative of the General Services Agency, the GSA, the folks from the Liberia National Police, and also the Ministry of Justice. And it was signed by the Presidential Press Secretary, Madam Kula Fofanen. What's your take on this issue about it's not a question to the president's decision, but I mean, how do you look at it from the direction of recovering government assets and also retrieving some of those properties of government? What's your take on the on this situation?
Well, Taga, thanks very much indeed. Um, Assets recovery, just as the nomenclature itself suggests. Assets. What are assets? These are tangible, valuable properties of the state, of the government. They could include vehicles, office equipment, so on and so forth. The mere fact that there is something like an assets recovery initiative tells me that there is suspected to be some wrongdoing. This is where individuals would try to commandeer, take away, for the lack of a better word, or maybe even steal what belongs to the state. For an example, you give Vawan an office to do a piece of job, you give him a vehicle, you give him a computer, a laptop, you give him office equipment. It reaches a time that he must leave his job and he decides to take away those state properties, state assets. I mean, that's the wrong thing to do in an environment where we're talking about the fight against corruption, we're fighting for integrity. I mean, if you do that, you lack the integrity. I think anybody who is found guilty of that should be barred from holding any other public office going forward. I think anybody who is involved in that should be arrested and prosecuted consistent with law. The fact that the body has been set up to sort of identify, retrieve, recover, and restore government assets is a good move. I think that such a committee should have all the support in the world that it can have to go out there and should be effective in executing its mandate, because then it will serve as a deterrent for others who might want to do that in the future. This is not the first time we've heard about assets recovery.
Mhm.
I don't have a very good record of the success of, asset recovery initiatives over time. The last time we heard about asset recovery, we understood that the group that was set up to carry out the task did not have what it needed in terms of its logistical support to carry out this mandate. I think this time around, everything must be done to ensure that whoever has taken a government property should be held to account. The properties should be retrieved, the properties should be recovered, the properties should be restored. What that does is that, number one, it saves government extra spending. Number two, the culture of accountability will be guaranteed. That people will know that, unlike what we say in Liberia, government property belongs to no one. I remember back in the days when we play children football, somebody's parent will buy him a football, he will bring the football on the field to play. And because he's the owner, he insists on playing, even though he doesn't even know how to kick the ball. And so usually we will say, no, this guy wouldn't play. And he will say, okay, if I don't play, I'm going to take my football. Take my ball. And then we all say, okay, so he's government boom. Do you know what government boom meant in that scenario? No, the government boom was like, anybody can kick
anybody you. Can kick you and go free.
Yeah, it's government boom. So
referee will not blow for
no
you.
Referee can blow for you. Government boom. I mean, it's that kind of concept you come with. That what belongs to government is government boom. We cannot have government boom. Government properties must be secured. This government is talking about looking for funds and resources. If they have to go back buying all the office furnitures, they have to go back buying all the vehicles, buying all the equipment. That's not going to be fair. So I think that it is a good move, and I would pray that this committee's feet will be held to the fire. And I'm asking all Liberians, wherever you are, when you identify somebody who has stolen away government property, please let the committee
You
know.
mean folks from the community as well?
Folks from the community, once you have identified somebody who has taken away government property, alert the committee. If possible, this particular committee should even establish short codes
Short
that people
code.
can call them to say, I've noticed that Valman was using his vehicle from the office. Now he has taken away with him. We need to help the government to recover these properties, because if we don't, the monies that would have otherwise been used to undertake other development initiatives will have to now be used to get government functional and running. So I fully 100% support the asset recovery initiative. I think the initiative should be supported by government. I think Liberians in general, we should support this initiative by providing the required information to the committee.
Okay, that is very important. For mine stand on this is very important. Supporting you on this. The government spent a whole lot of dollars, in transitioning from one to another.
And
I
let me
mean,
let me add that those dollars are even tax dollars. The
yes,
taxes that you pay are the same monies that the government will use to go and procure these things, and somebody takes them away.
people leaving government offices, and sometimes imagine official want to carry even computer, the
Mhm.
computer you used in the last few years that you work in government, and because the time expired for your being in the office, you want to take away the computer. I mean, people taking as low as even the office desks. I
Mhm.
remember a case in last year that we were talking about at the Ministry of Information, of an individual who say, work at the office. I mean, there were things that when some of them were appointed, the ministry was able, or the entity was able to procure them. And when you're leaving, those things not for you, it's for
Absolutely.
the next man to come and work with those same things. Because if we continue to do this after the unity party time, the next regime that will come again will have to, a government cannot keep buying and buying and buying and buying. Government
Yeah.
have a very huge expenditure, a huge component of the budget should be focusing on salaries, other expenses. Some of the money that we're taking to be rebuying and buying and buying every day could be used for other things at the ministry. If
And
we
then it could, if step is not taken to nip this in the bud, to stop this,
Mhm.
it could become a vicious cycle, and we will continue with this.
Yeah.
We're talking about the fight against corruption. We're talking about accountability. Look, imagine instances when even other international partners will come and support your country, and then when they supply you maybe some computers, a few vehicles, and people take them away. Those tax dollars are coming from other countries, donated and contributed to your country. So just like the man would collect the funds being donated for Liberia's use and convert SIM to his personal use, that's what you're doing. So it's the same corruption that we're talking about. So we are asking that this committee should be heavily supported. In fact, we should name and shame those who will be involved in taking away government properties, government assets.
I mean, I'm sure they are going to do this in keeping with the law. And I like some of the names that appeared on this. The likes of the former LACC chairperson, Councillor Clark Edwin Martin,
Right.
who is the chair on this identical committee. I mean, he has been one of the presidents who been familiar with government officials in sometimes these kind of other wasteful spending or perhaps misappropriation, maybe in terms of retrieving government assets. I know there will be a very, very, very good result to come up. The likes of this student activist, Martin Colley.
Yep.
He's been researching for a whole lot. Those who are comparing what they earn as compared to what they obtain, departing government. We cannot be very insincere and you became a millionaire. I
Yeah.
mean,
And by the time you leave, we would have known what you generated over
yes,
time.
because if you were
Right.
earning like $5,000.
Mhm.
We'll do the calculation,
Yeah. So
and
if
if
your properties are worth millions of
$1 million,
dollars,
you will
then we have
give account.
reasons to call you for some conversation around that. And if you cannot justify, then the legal process takes its course. And I like I mean portions of the asset recovery initiative where even if people have traveled out of the country, there'll be efforts at repatriating them,
Yes,
come back home and give us an account. So I would even think that if people have carted away and saved monies in foreign banks, in accounts in foreign banks, and we can identify them, we should repatriate what belongs to Liberia. I mean, this practice has got to stop. I mean, we hear about it, every now and then. This practice has got to be put to an end.
people
And
taking.
I have absolute on until and unless proving otherwise. Every member of that committee, I think, strong enough, and they will need to justify the confidence that has been reposed in them by ensuring that they effectively execute the mandate that has been given to them. At the same time, they need the required support from the state, from the government, also the communities. We need to support these people. If I know of someone who has hating a government vehicle
Yeah,
somewhere, I should go and divulge that information. If somebody has taken government equipment, I should go and give out that information. That's why I said, even if you have short codes, and let me tell you, don't lay back because of short code. I mean, the telephones in this country are so many that, I mean, you can use just 5 cents to just call Tiger and say, "Oh, you want a committee here? I suspect Vanwan is doing this. Please check on him." That should be sufficient enough. And once that information is provided, members of the committee should have in place, an arrangement where they are able to collect such information, go after it, conduct investigations, bring people to book where it is required, and ensure that people are prosecuted consistent with law. Those properties are recovered, they are retrieved, and they are restored.
yes, so that very important. Those who are even in possession of government vehicles. Quite recently, we were even told of one ex-minister who was alleged that he's in possession of government vehicle and all of that. So, I mean, if one can be served as just the president and the trial going back and forth on it, even to admit that it's a garage or maybe it's something that they say wherever there is a smoke, there could be a fire.
So
So
what happened to the turnover note? I mean, if I were leaving, a particular office and getting out, you don't have to go looking for me months later. Where is this? And I'm telling you that,
and I mean it shows some level of irresponsibility. I mean,
absolutely,
very 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 clear, very
absolutely.
very clear.
When you're leaving, give us the list. I mean, before you took over, there must have been a list of what you inherited. When you're leaving, let us have that list. Let us see the turnover notes, and I'm sure that the committee will be
and
calling for
be
all the turnover notes.
not just the turnover note, but be very sincere in the
Yeah,
preparation of that
unfortunately,
note.
yeah.
Don't just present a note just because of writing purpose.
No, I mean that's
Bring some
why
sincerity to it.
most offices have internal audit sections and all of that. Go in there, see what was procured during your time, because probably when you took over, there were certain assets that were not in the system at the time, but they were procured and they were recorded in the assets registry of the particular entity you worked in. So as you leave now, I mean, for your own reputation going forward, ensure that I have left every piece of equipment that was given to me to do my task. And this is it. When I came to government, this is what I was worth. I am now leaving. This is what I have. I mean, besides work, my regular salary, I was doing business. This is the business I was doing, and this is how I got my resources and all of that. You should live above reproach. Okay. Now, unless and until we do that, the fight against corruption is far from over.
Far from over.
Yes.
So, interestingly, to support this, I think it was one of the robust effort that the president made prior to his departure on Wednesday evening, the executive mansion released that the president commissioned the Minister of Justice, because I mean you cannot do this in the absence rather of a justice minister who should be staying the affairs of the justice system in the country. I mean, going after people, but let it be in keeping with the law. So the justice minister, Oxford Tue, was commissioned by His Excellency President Joseph Human Boakai just before his departure on Thursday. Yesterday, the president left via the means of the RIA to Ivory Coast for a visit. And on that visit, there are a lot of progressive things for Liberia. We've been told that, the plans in terms of the agriculture sector, which is, a fundamental pillar of the arrest agenda, will also be looked into. A partnership with the Ivorian government. I was also told about, security. We're also told about the aspect of electricity as well. Establishing the relationship with, or re-establishing the relationship with Ivory Coast. And the president departed on yesterday via the means of the Rabos International Airport by an Ivorian flight. To get this very clear, that the Ivorian government sent a flight, or in a very simplistic tone, a plane yesterday for the president that took him from the Rabos International Airport to Ivory Coast. I'm saying this because there are some individuals who are also trying to, this issue about misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. It's something that we need to look at. People are manufacturing their own news sometimes. I mean, you will see photo of what happened. Sometimes people will want to, because of the use of the internet, people will want to build on it. And there's a news circulating that, oh, the president traveled with private jet and all of that. So even the plane was carrying the Ivorian flag. You want to chip in?
Yeah. The first thing, I'm just reflecting on the need for an effective information management for the government. Take, for example, there will always be people who will cause distraction, right? I mean, somebody will come and say, oh, no, in fact, Taga was not the one in that studio. It was someone else using Taga's voice. But and I think some real powerful people are in the government information system already. The likes of the Minister of Information.
Yes.
He has a track record. We have people like Kula Fofana. She's the presidential press secretary. We have our own DG designate. I hope it will be confirmed soon, and I hope that LBS will be the appointments here will be completed soon, because what we do know is that over time, the LBS has always played that role, that it will be there on spot when the president or the government is moving. LBS will be on spot. They will be at the airport. They will be at the mansion. They will be everywhere. I mean, they're doing the same now, but
I mean, we have to get a confirmed head.
You have to have a confirmed head. You have to have the leadership structure set up. LBS has a director general, a deputy director general for administration,
five deputies,
deputy director general for media services, deputy director general for rural broadcasting, deputy director general for public affairs, director general for technical affairs.
Services.
Well, these people need to be in place so that when the president is going to Ivory Coast, for an example, the technical head, we ensure that all is set up to bring you a minute by minute, second by second description and analysis and reports of what is unfolding. In that way, even if other information I would like to call fake news is coming up, ELBC and other state information apparatus will already be ahead of their game. The Ministry of Information will be there. They've got newspaper. Now everybody's doing social media. So there's serious need. I listened to the the former information minister, agreeing with the current information minister, Honorable Pierre, that there's a need for a lot of support to government information management
Yes.
system.
Yes.
And so I'm not. I mean, I know this will not change. People will always be there to distort the facts. People will be there to put a spin, but that's why you have the government set up. They need to be empowered to be sure that the right information is provided to the citizenry. Take for example, you have this big fight of late that people are refusing Liberian legal tender. They say we can't hold the money. The money is not good money. How can you say that? Who declares the money fake or not fake? And the government has been clear, the central bank has been clear that the money is being exchanged gradually with schedules and all of that. But you have individuals for their own reasons now trying to make life difficult. And I think, I don't know, I don't have the authority, but I think in the name of law and order, the police should start to intervene. I mean, anybody saying they can hold the Liberian currency, which is legal tender, should be held to answer some questions. Because if it is happening in Monrovia, imagine what's happening elsewhere. And I listened to one of our correspondents this morning telling you about people came, I think that was in Bond County. People came to the market from their towns and villages, and they could buy nothing. They could pay for nothing because the money was being rejected.
And I mean, some people are even using that means to exploit others.
Yes, I heard.
In Liberia, we take advantage of a little situation to maximize profit. At the expense of others.
But I listened to the head of corporate communications, Councillor Alfonso Zion, when he was very, very clear that look, the money is legal tender until the 31st of March. Use the money. He even provided some assurance that even after that, there will be a way of people still exchanging their money. It may not be as the money is being used for transaction now, but for example, you could still go to the bank and carry your money, and a decision will be made to exchange your money. But to begin now, I am not aware of such a problem. I get on your vehicle to travel to Banga. I get to Banga, and you're telling me you can't accept the money, and then you want to fight me, and I don't have any other money. I think in that case, the law will have to get involved. And I think those who are engaged and involved in that practice need to stop. It is clear, the clarification has been made. The central bank has a radio program here on ELBC called, I think, Money Matters.
Money Matters.
They keep explaining this over and over and over. Even in this Monrovia, I got on a vehicle to town the other day. The conductor was saying he cannot accept the money. There was a whole lot of hula baloo in the bus. This needs to stop. And I will say to anybody whose money has been rejected, if there's an officer around, call the officer and let him know. Because what you're doing, you are violating the law of the country. This money is legal tender. Why are you rejecting the money? And they're telling you, I can't accept the money. I don't like this money. I don't want this money. You don't have the authority to do that. So I think that needs to change, Yeah.
Okay, so stay on the information sector of our country. The Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Minister Gerolinic Matthew Pia appeared here, was that on Tuesday, and he talked on a couple of things. I mean, highlighting the issue about the government's efforts in terms of regulating, the information, the information sector. That in keeping with how they intend to run the government with regards to disseminating information. And I listened to him on another radio station. I mean, he comes in with a wealth of experience, highlighting a lot of things. That the Ministry of Information is not to be used as a propaganda machine. And that brings me to a point to talk about this issue of public relations. A lot of times in Liberia, we feel when we talk about public relations, it's all about you telling the worst of lies in terms of, defending your institution to, beautify your institution to the people. But I mean, the best public relations for every institution is to do the best thing. If you are, let's say, the LWSC, the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, let's take that for example. your function is to why? To deliver water, as to the citizens. If you are doing that effectively, you are proactive, you are doing that very, very good on time and all of that, and the people are benefiting from the service. I mean, there will be no need of you debunking and creating all of that. So that's a very good public relation for you. On the flip side, even to LEC, in recent time, we've been seeing, especially for the social media, they have a nighttime team that will be patrolling from one community to another, and they are going on the social media on live and say, "Oh, they're in the other community and doing this." And that. I mean, it's all just about service delivery. Linking that to the Ministry of Information and the minister, what he highlighted was he's not going to be used as someone who would just stay in the gap to either live for Ministry S or for Ministry Y. I mean, there would be a channel under his watch as a minister to properly, pass the information over to the state broadcaster, and that's the rapport between the LBS and that of the Ministry of Information. So, Ministry of Information, which is the head, will regulate when there are key issues about government to not have everyone responding for every government ministry and agency. All of the communication directors and the public relations officers from these various ministries and agencies will relate to the Ministry of Information, and the Information Ministry, ELBC, as a government arm. This radio will not be used as the way in other regions at times were used on a party on a on a party line where people will think that they can manufacture. No, ELBC as just a medium for information dissemination. So if government fixed a role in maybe we ally, the role of the state broadcaster will what? Will just disseminate the news. And I mean, the information ministry will provide it by its regular press briefing held on every Thursday, where media institutions will go there, and get the information from the Charles Graham press room and bring to disseminate. Because he's trying to curtail this aspect about people trying to beautify things, and at the end of the day, it's not going the way that people think it's going. I mean, that was one of the troubles for even the CDC when they took over in 2018. This issue about everyone speaking for government anyway and anyhow.
Yeah,
it's not a very good public relation.
No, like you said, Minister Pierre is very knowledgeable. A very, very key principle of what we do is truth telling. You have to tell the truth. As a journalist, as somebody who's looked up to for the provision of information, you have to have as your real strength truth telling. By the time you begin to tell lies, you lost your essence. I mean, it's like you have food with salt in it. The salt has lost its flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like about Minister Pierre, because he worked in this sector for a long time. He's an agronomist, but I tell you, he's a very, very strong communication person.
And he said he got that experience from his days at the university in the student party,
right,
where he was also practicing that.
Right. And so he talked about wanting to make ELBC truly a state broadcaster where no one will be denied access. You can come here and provide the information that you have, but you are responsible for the abuse of the right that you have.
Yes, in keeping with freedom of expression.
Camara, freedom of expression.
It comes with responsibility.
If you breach the law will hold you accountable.
Someone can penalize you if you come and accuse them, or maybe they feel insulted.
But he said, gone are the days that the managers at ELBC, for example, will not make their own decision as who they like and who they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a policy that will say, look, all will have access to ELBC, but you are responsible for what you say. Yeah. And he talked about reaching out and engaging with the entire media. Okay.
Another thing, I just want to bring this to the attention of the minister and the administration at the information ministry. The government, we were told in 2022 there was a moratorium, passed by His Excellency, That was on establishment of new radio stations. I think one of the callers even, made mention about that when he was hosted here, and of some radio stations later on by the closure of, the former regime, they were issued, you know, operational permits by the Ministry of Information, and the current boss of the water and sewer, Muhammad Ali, even posted a communication of a media institution, which we were in 2023 by then, and they were issued a permit for 2024. I mean, we hope that the minister will also set up a committee, a team to work, because at the ministry they have a department specifically responsible for radio stations or media institutions registration, because they are charged with the authority to issue permits, to look into that. And also this aspect about, regulating the media, I mean, in keeping with ethical standards. There are some radio stations in this country that it will interest you to note that, if the ministry take a stand today and do a tour to visit some of these ministry, some of these radio stations, media outlets, permits are being expired. I mean, I just want the ministry to just take on a tour and be very robust about this. There are a lot of radio stations, a lot of media outlets, television, newspaper entities, and all of that, to check them one by one, because the permit, we're being told that they should be, renewed, should be renewed. So to look after them and see who, and I'm also being told that there are some of them who have a long extension. I think that should be for a year, to look into that. So radio station, a station will not maybe have over 2 3 years ahead. So I mean, that was one of the concerns that somebody raised.
You know,
It should be looked into.
the Minister of Information is very knowledgeable about all of this. He made reference to that, and he said that they are going to ensure that what is on the books is followed. He talked about, I mean, people who own, for example, radio stations refusing to pay even the minimum cost
Yes.
to be up to date with their registration. I mean, he said the ministry is going to play its part. They're not going to stop anybody from operating a radio station, for an example, but everyone will be encouraged to obey the law.
Yes, to
And
meet up with the
he's very clear
requirement.
about that. Just like you're saying now, if you have an annual registration to pay, why don't you pay? Imagine we are media people. We are the first to start shouting that somebody is in violation of the law.
We can be lashing at the government,
yeah,
and
and then if we are violators, then it leaves more questions than answers, right? So again, I mean, that's the benefit of bringing in experienced people to work in particular sectors that they have their authority on, that they can follow through on. But again, like I was saying, this whole thing about government information mechanism, there's serious need to strengthen it. There's serious need to support it. I remember the minister was saying even the operational environment at the ministry is challenged.
of
I mean,
course,
when you talk about LBS, for example, it requires what it takes to get the kind of job done. You want to remember teams from LBS used to go afield to go and gather information, gather content, come back. Our duty is to serve that role between the government and the people,
and the people
right? LBS goes out there and sees what's going on and pick up the information and
champion
comes
the
back,
voices of the people.
throw it out there. Somebody in Nimba will say, "Oh, is this what the guy in Granjit is doing? Oh, is this what the guy in Maryland is doing?" And that's interesting. And just before I drop on this one, lest I forget, you talk about the visit of the president to Cote d'Ivoire, and I can tell you, this is one of the best decisions I imagine the government is taking to turn things around. I happen to have been at a church 2 Sundays ago where the president was also in attendance. He said very clearly that he did not come to the presidency only because he wants to be president. He said in his word, "We are not here for president business. What we are here for is to turn Liberia around for the better, to create opportunities for the Liberian people, especially the young people, to ensure that the lives of the Liberian people are improved. Africa Coast, for example. In this region, when you talk about agriculture, Africa Coast is reputed. So why don't you go to Africa Coast and see what they're doing, learn how they're doing it, borrow it and bring it home. When you talk about power, electricity, Africa Coast they install.
Of course.
Why don't you go there and see how they're doing it and enter some understanding with them? When you talk about security, you know we have this border with a lot of crossings. We have had some issues with quote unquote Burkina Faso coming through Cote d'Ivoire into Liberia and the rest of it. So I believe that a visit to Cote d'Ivoire has a lot to give to Liberia. We will just hope that everything will be done, that we maximize the opportunity, that this visit will yield dividends. There's a whole thing about the president traveling on Air Cote d'Ivoire. I know the politics of saying, oh, private jet, and because that's the sort of thing. And let me say this: there is social media, there is traditional media, right? So for social media, for example, you if you really want to go after them, you're going to blow your head off, because you can just pick up your phone. Use your phone, grab some pictures and write anything. You broadcast right there and everybody's reading it. The thing about it is even audio visual. It's like you can see video clippings of the things you want to promote. I imagine I can enter a room of 500 persons and choose to only photograph empty spaces and go back and say nobody attended the meeting, and you see it posted, those empty spaces, and if you're not careful, you want to believe that nobody went to that meeting. So I believe, like I said, the thing I remember the president said on that day, Liberians, just be a little patient and let's see how these things unfold. All I can say is that let us make sure that, the information mechanism of the state is working effectively, working efficiently. We should be truthful. We should provide the information as is, so that even if falsehood comes, they say the truth crushed to the ground shall still rise again. So the truth shall set you free. In this business, if you want to succeed in it, if you want to have longevity in it, you have to make sure that you tell the truth. Truth telling is the real foundation of what we do. If we fall short of that, we are heading for trouble.
Okay, today is also International Women's Day, and we say happy International Women's Day to a lot of women out there who are following the broadcast. And thanks to you yesterday for hosting the folks from the Ministry of Gender, the minister as well. Okay, so it's 6 minutes up to 8. That's 9 o'clock. At 9, we will play host to Titus Ode King, who is the communication present at the Thomas's Foundation in District Number 4, Montserrado County. You've been listening to us here. A lot of things we talked about. Is about time that you can put through your calls on 0776 740673, 0776 740673, or 0880514096. 0880514096 or 0776 740673. These are the two numbers you can call us on this morning, and form a part of the Super Morning Show here. We can do this up to 9 o'clock while we adjust to have a brief conversation with Titus King from the Thomas's Foundation. Good morning, welcome.
My name is Shogun Ise, Junior from District Number 2, the Big Research Jefferson.
Go ahead in a minute.
Brother, thank you for the topic on our discussion this morning. The one you said about the media, there's a media, in other media in the country, they are not paying taxes to government, and they're getting what information to we the citizens. So the Minister of Information, quote unquote, Jeremiah Sia, to monitor all radio stations and who pay taxes to the Liberian government, and also this is the careful information to the Liberian people. They are bringing chaos in the country, getting fake information to others that they will get in the street and do what they're supposed to do. So I think the minister should see to it.
Okay, thank you. That is very important. This issue about information dissemination. We know of some institutions that willfully they did the wrong thing here during some years ago. Let's talk to this caller on the line. Morning, welcome. What's the name? Where you join us from?
Good morning. My name is Rooney NTD Win, calling from Dixville.
Go ahead.
First, I want to say thank you for the show. That's a great show. And I want to encourage all Liberians, let us live in propaganda and focus on our land. And I believe that the visit that the president is going to visit is not going to be qualified, but should be the neighboring country, so that they can see what the people are doing, so that can come to Liberia. And also on a media basis, I want for the Liberian broadcasting system to make sure and visit every community, every show that these legislation are well funded, are paying their taxes.
And that is under the Ministry of Information, the Information Ministry.
You do get, because I believe that you can partner with the Ministry of Information, because
okay, thank you.
Information it can come to the LBS too. So I want you to help in that process, so that they can pay their taxes, so that they can help Liberia in our development.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk to other callers. LBS is not in media regulation. It is the Ministry of Information. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Moses Corey calling from Bong County.
Let's hear you, Chief.
Thank you. I want to appreciate this government, the president, the House of Senate, and representatives for the mechanism they are putting in place to set Liberia on the right trajectory. Look, my brother, there are a lot of things that have been happening in this country, and punitive actions have not been taken, and people are used to the way of leading, putting government into a lot of expenses. So I want to say thank you to this government, and I pray that God will give wisdom to our leaders to lead this country with justice.
Okay,
because
thank you.
If there is no justice, there can be peace.
All right, let's talk to other callers. Morning, how are you? Okay, too bad. We have too many callers. We'll talk to the other ones on the line here. Morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Yes, we are okay. What's the name where you have joined us from this morning?
Frank and I call from Broad Street. I like to ascertain as to whether these people who have given the Liberian people money and converted it into the public account, those people who will be willing to get information as to whether they will be protected, because security is one of the problems too.
Yes, it's important.
Because if someone come up with information, those people are going to come after those people.
Okay,
so these are things that also need to be
yes, protection.
Really pay attention to.
All right, protection for access. Sorry, that was whistleblower. Let's talk to the last year. Then we can go over to Anthony Vaughan. Then we take a break to usher in our guest. I'm sure that the guest is around. Morning, welcome. Hello. Okay, too bad. This caller, we have you on the line. I don't know what's going on. Let's go on line one. Morning. Hello, are you? Yes, you're live on the radio. What's the name? Where you join us from? You live.
Good morning.
Hello, we're getting you.
This is Cyrus W2 with the second.
And if you are listening to the radio, please stop listening to the radio. Listen to the phone. Go ahead.
Morning.
Too bad we can't keep you there, but let's go back to Anthony Vaughan. Vaughan, you listen to a lot of the callers. I mean, they all were buttressing, our points here. And I mean, one caller talked about the protection for whistleblowers. You were talking about hotlines, being established or should be established, which is very important. But, the aspect about when people say these kind of things, even though sometimes they may not identify themselves, but in some cases, you don't know, in terms of protection.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who engages in wanting to make use of the services of whistleblowers would have to take in consideration the protection of the whistleblowers. and we're not talking about using the short codes to call. We're not even asking you to say when you want to blow a whistle, you got to go and call your name and show where you live and the rest of it. Notwithstanding, anyway, those who are involved in the asset recovery and will be out there looking for information, most definitely put in place a mechanism whereby
To protect
those who are
sources.
whistleblowers are protected. Because if you don't do that, then you have nobody speaking. You know, when you go to places like the commercial district or red light, I used to ask, why do these people stand and see people passing through are being attacked by criminals and they don't get it? And they say the problem is we are afraid that these guys will get at us. Once they're being taken to the police station and they go through and they're released, they come back, they will get at us. So that's why we don't normally raise alarm. But I would think that those who are engaged in efforts to unearth information and will be looking for whistleblowers will also take into serious consideration the protection of the whistleblowers. So again, the callers agree with us, so I have not much to say.
Yes.
And I think that the more we do this, the better people get, informed and educated, the more they come on board with the government. That's all the reason why LBS needs to be strengthened. LBS needs to have its leadership in place. LBS needs to be all out there around the country. Our rural, broadcasting points all need to be active. We now have a dedicated radio for the Liberian languages, exclusively Liberian languages. So LBS can actually help, in pushing the government's information. That radio is the biggest platform for communication with the Liberian people. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, it's 3 minutes past 9 o'clock.